Hey, I know catching smallmouth on crankbaits is a lot of fun, but it can be very frustrating because they have little tiny mouths and their whole bodies are very hard and rigid. Their mouths are very strong, and man, they love to jump. So what happens? Those fish come off. Crankbaits are a great way to catch smallmouth bass, but I can tell you from experience, I've caught a ton of them. A bunch of fish have a tendency to come off. What do you do? What do you do? I just recently fished a Bassmaster Elite Series tournament up north, Lake St. Clair, and I caught a ton of fish in practice and in the tournament on crankbaits, and I feel like that I dialed in the formula to catching and landing a higher percentage of those fish than just what comes standard on a crankbait. Now, for example, I'm gonna use the Spro Little John Baby DD 60. This is a great smallmouth crankbait, especially when you want to fish that 12 to 14 foot range. And for all around crankbait fishing, what comes on this crankbait is 2 Gamakatsu round bend treble hooks. They are black nickel and they are in the size number 3. And for those of y'all who don't know, hook sizes kind of go backwards. So 6s are smaller than 4s. So the smaller the number, the bigger the hook, kind of, it's awkward, whatever, but that's just the way it is. So 3s are in between a 2 and a 4. Now, a 4 is a little smaller, 2 is a little bit bigger. You would think if you're having a good hook, there's no hook sharper than this hook, so that's not the issue here. So there's no hook sharper. Why would those fish come off? They don't get the hooks in and out in their mouths and stay on as well as they could. In practice, I tried about 10 or 12 different combinations. So as I was, searching around with this crankbait, trying to find areas that were holding good numbers of fish, I would catch 2 or 3 fish, and then I would change my hook combination. And I was, alternating bigger hooks, smaller hooks, EWGs. I was using the G finesses. I was adding split rings, taking them off. I was doing all kind of different stuff to try to find the right combination. And I really feel like that I dialed it in when I was up there this year, because I only lost 1 fish. I never actually lost it. I kind of hooked it for a second and it shook once and came off. That was the only fish that came off like that out of probably the 25 that I caught in the 2 days of the tournament when I had this combination on. But the combination that I settled on, this is the exact rod and reel and bait and everything that I was fishing, was 2 number 4 EWG treble hooks from Gamakatsu. That's what I was throwing. I had 2 of those on there, so I actually downsized my hooks and I added 1 split ring on the back just to set that back treble hook off of the bait a little bit more, and it just gives 1 extra pivot point so the fish have a little less leverage. I did not do that on the front. I added a slightly bigger split ring. If I felt like if I was gonna have 2 split rings on the front, the hooks were gonna tangle up too much, because I actually tried that, didn't work. So then I went back to just 1, but I upsized the split ring there. I believe that split ring is a number 1 split ring, and then, no, I'm sorry, maybe a number, these are number 2s. They're a little smaller, and the split rings work the same way. But the one that I ended up putting on here is right here, putting a little bit bigger one on that front. That was a combination that really, really worked. And just to go over the rest of the setup real quick, I really like cranking with fluorocarbon, straight fluorocarbon. This was 12-pound Sunline, and then the rod was a Cashin John Cruz deep crank rod. It's a 711. You need to have a longer rod with enough backbone that when those fish bite it, you can lean back into them and keep good pressure on them from the time they hit that crankbait to the time you get them in the boat. That rod's gonna bend really well and you're gonna be able to keep a lot of pressure on those fish, because once those hooks stay in there, you wanna be able to keep good, steady pressure on there, and as they shake their head, you don't want them to be able to let that pressure loose. And I had a 6-4-to-1 reel. You don't want too slow of a reel, especially for smallmouth fishing. A 7-to-1 is perfectly fine too, a faster reel. But that was the combination there. So I'm just gonna kind of show you the difference in these hooks and exactly what that looks like. It's my little bait hack. I'll add this to the bait hack series. But this is the difference in the hooks. So you see, one is a lot smaller than the other, but the EWG, what happens is that those hook points turn back in towards the where they're going, and because of that hook point coming back, once you hook a fish on these, they are not as apt to bend out as the round bends. The round bends will have a tendency, when you're putting a lot of pressure on those smallmouth, those 4 and 5 pounders are really strong. I mean, even the 3 pounders, they'll have a tendency to work real hard and try to bend that hook point out. Now, the other option you're thinking, do I want to go up in diameter? Do I want to put a 2X hook on there, or even a 4X? So I'm going to use that round bend, but I'm going to go with a thicker diameter so that those fish won't bend that hook out. Don't do it, because when you get that crankbait way out there, that hook diameter is too big. You can't get good penetration in their hard mouth, that hard head, their cheeks are hard, all that stuff is hard. You can't get good penetration with that thicker diameter. The EWG still has that smaller diameter, so that hook penetrates very easily in there. And once they get on there, on that smaller hook, they stay hooked. I even tried the bigger EWGs, and I lost a couple, and it was really kind of puzzling to me how that could happen, but that was the deal. So that's your bait hack tip of the day, is that when you're smallmouth crankbait fishing, you may want to consider adding a second split ring onto the back of your bait, as long as it doesn't mess up the hooks getting tangled too much. And you may want to think about downsizing to the next size smaller EWG hook, and that might totally change your landing ratio, because we all want those fish that we hook out there, we want to get them in the boat so that we can take pictures of them or take them back to the weigh-in, or whatever you want to do to show off your catches. So I hope that tip helps you right there. If you have any other input on that, please hit it down there in the comments. Love to hear from you. If you've had any other experiences with your treble hooks and getting more fish in the boat, that was my little bait hack for you for smallmouth on crankbaits.